Sorry, I couldn't.
All right, would John Grantham please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Fellow Rotarians, you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with the admin table, please bring me the lists of guests and Rotary visitors, please. And Len Fosher, would you please do the four-way test?
Thank you. Fellow Rotarians, please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it true?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and fifth.
Is it fun?
Are there any visiting Rotarians this morning? Chris Brown, you have a guest. Is Chris Brown here?
Chris Brown, calling Chris Brown. No, Brown Party 2.
Okay, so Mike Walther?
Hey, Mike!
Welcome to Gateway Rotary. All right, Lori, you have an announcement.
So, as Gateway Rotarians, we are partners with Pleasant Plain Elementary School, High Partners, and they are doing an event, a Read Across America. And we need 4 to 5 Rotarians to go into the classroom and read for an hour. And the books, you can bring your favorite books, or the librarian will supply them. I have 2 people signed up already. It's Tuesday the 26th, and the times are pretty flexible, but there's you have to work around recess and lunch. So it's 9:45 to 11:30, or 1:15 to 2:30.
So that's next Tuesday?
That's next Tuesday, and
Jerry perked up at recess.
yeah. So if you can read, you're qualified to do this. So if you'd like to do it, please let me know. Thanks.
And please welcome Len Fosher for his announcement.
Yay, Len Fosher.
Okay, first, you should have gotten an email from me this week with a couple reminders. The Paul Harris dinner sign up. Please take a look at that email I sent over the weekend. The Paul Harris Dinner Awards is on March 28th at 5 p.m. at Hotel RL. Again, a lot of you are going to be receiving Paul Harris recognition. So 1, you'd love to be there to get that recognition. And 2, we as a club, I hope we can support our fellow Rotarians that are going to be receiving those awards. So again, please check that for signups. A district conference. I also sent a reminder on that with a link and some information. That's going to be in Victoria, BC, May 10th through 12th. There's a great video that I also included so that you can have reference. It's on the district website. You can see what's going on. And we're going to bring that video in for one of the future meetings. But please sign up for that as well. Our last social was a good success. We had a great time. It was on February 7th. And those of you who follow how calendars work, 28 days in February means it's going to be March 7th. Same type of format. Wow, isn't that amazing? Wow, 28 divided by 7. Happens every 3 years. Or 3 years, for 3 years. It doesn't happen on the leap year. Thank you. So March 7th is our next social, and it's going to be a literacy event as well, as we're going to be honoring Dr. Seuss, Dr. Seuss's birthday. So cake and beer. It'll be starting at 4 o'clock on March 7th, and that's going to be a top rung. So please attend that, and we can celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday.
Bring a book.
Bring a book. Please bring a book. And it's going to be partying with Crystal, or I forget what the term is now. But again, Crystal's been setting these up, and let's hear it for Crystal real quick for setting this up. Awesome. Thank you.
And next up is Nathan McGee. He has an announcement.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Nathan.
Hi. Yeah, so there's a youth service committee today in the evening, in the back, sorry, after the meeting. And then following after that, there is a short tour, if anyone is interested, in the North Thurston Resource Center to see how the youth services and Gateway is help supporting that program.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
And Nancy LaPointe is our classification speaker this morning. Wait a minute, hold on. Madeline is next up.
Yay, Madeline!
To induct a new member. So let's hear it for Madeline.
Yay, Madeline!
So today I sound like a frog, and if this was a singing group, I'd tell you how joyful I could be. Secondly, I wanted to introduce my guest, because I forgot to write it down, Ed Kunkel, who will soon be a member.
Hey, Ed! We only have one other Ed, I think.
Yeah, I know, they've already met.
All right.
So, will Nico and Troy and Mike Beeler please come forward? We're doing... As you may remember, we started a mentor group, and Mike Beeler is going to be Nico's mentor.
He's a downhill slide already.
Well, you know, we don't pay a lot.
Get what we think?
Anyway, Nico, his real name is Nikolai, but he likes to be called Nico. I'm Madeline, and I like to be called Madeline, among other things that I am called. Nico, it's so great to have you here. Nico is really excited to join us, and even though I don't feel good, I'm excited. This is Madeline's excited, not feeling good days. So Nico is the new marketing coordinator for Ole Ortho. Olympia native, lived on the East Coast for the past 10 years. 26 years old. In the process of buying his first house, he's the oldest of 5 kids. The University of Tampa business marketing major, transferred from Furman University. Played collegiate level soccer at the D1, D2 levels, right? That's why you guys met, the soccer thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, is he a pocket gopher now?
He ripped his leg on my field last year.
Nice. Lawsuit.
Wow, you got caught in one of those gopher traps?
I don't know. So he turned down the music when somebody gets injured, right? And then all of a sudden he decided that it really hurt, and so he had to turn it way up because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still owes me a knee, so wait.
He went on a 6-month pro trial with 2 English Premier League teams in England, wow, with Aston Villa, and Blackburn.
Top level.
Interests are volunteering with the Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brother, Big Sister organization, and developing soccer programs for the youth. Proposed to his fiancée a few weeks ago. And they're expecting a baby in September. How exciting. Yeah, for the next 18 years.
It was happy and then it got sad.
And Mike, I'll do this so you know more about him.
All right.
And Mike, I'd like you to meet Nico. All right.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
And now Nate Peters.
Hey, Nate Peters! Nate Peters.
So you're back? We have sizing samples for the Rotary International Fundraising Apparel project that we're doing. So again, $25 of the purchase of the apparel item will go toward the Rotary Foundation in your name, which will make us all donors if we purchase. And then we will have a Gateway Rotary Club logo on our apparel to wear at work. Thank you again to John Grantham here with Bud Bay Apparel.
Hey, John!
Second is that, yep, John.
I had a question about female apparel.
Yes.
I'll just order some sort of samples so you can have it for the next week, if that's okay.
For the best, okay, so we're trying to keep it to one option for each, for men and women. That way it's not overly confusing. We had the board vote on the men voted on what they liked and the women voted on what they liked, and that's how we chose these two for this year, just to make it simpler. Next year, we can definitely do a different apparel item, if that makes sense. Sorry for the issues. John can always do custom orders though, so if you go into Bud Bay Apparel, he can help you there.
But you don't get that.
It won't be a donation, but it'd be a little bit cheaper as well. Second thing, next Wednesday, February 27th, is the next St. Martin's Young Professionals Rotaract meeting on campus. Our presenter will be Janina Zell with Chicago Title, doing a first-time homebuyers process with the staff and faculty at St. Martin's. So if you would like to join, we're on campus there. Let me know and I'll send you more info. Thank you so much.
And now, our classification speaker, Nancy LaPointe, will you please come forward? And also, everyone here that's a member has an opportunity to do classification talks. They are from 3 to 5 minutes long. And if you would like to, please sign up with Grace Kendall, who is right over there. Now welcome, Nancy LaPointe.
Hey, Nancy LaPointe.
Good morning, everybody. I'm excited because I want to do something a little bit different. Last time when I did this, I talked about all the fun that I like to have in my family. And this time I'm going to mix it up. Because one of my mottos in life is work hard, play hard. But I want to talk about my passion, which is really around my work that I do. So, let's see if I can get this right here. Now, did that change?
Yeah.
This is what people a lot think that success looks like. This is what success actually is. It's a lot of missteps, trial, error, and continue to grow. And when I first went to college, I thought, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to become a lawyer, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to have a family of 3. That's going to be straight up that trajectory.
Grab the mic.
Oh, thank you. So I'm just going to work right up that trajectory. Well, what happens, I graduated from college during a recession, ended up living in D.C., decided not to go to law school, worked as a manager of a Pizza Hut, worked as another manager of a Pizza Hut, worked in a nursery, had my own landscaping firm, went back to school, worked for FedEx, got my MBA, discovered certified financial planning. Next thing you know, I'm a certified financial planner. But there was a lot of wiggle room between those. And between that, I lived in 5 different states. So success is really just a journey. And that's just how I try to help people as I work with them to understand that success is a journey. But it's a journey that one has to think, experience, try, and also have an intention about what they're trying to do. So my passion is helping people do financial planning. And I discovered that as I was going through my journey of success, that what I do really well is help people take action. What I also do, knowing myself personally, is I get bored very easily. So I had to find a career that allowed me to help give service to people, but also kept me very interested. It was very changing. And everybody's story and everybody's goal is very different, so I do not get bored at all in the career that I chose. It'll always be a challenge. So what I work to do is provide sound financial advice that enables my clients to chart their meaningful financial journey throughout their lives. It's around intention, it's around their values, it's around prioritizing their goals. And how I do that is through personal financial planning. I help them build that roadmap, help them look at risk management, investments, legacy, cash flow, the decisions they make, the small decisions impact the large decisions. And what I'm really striving to do is, it has the chart here, is help them be proactive. Most of the time people go through life by default. And where they end up is where they end up. And I really help them try not to be reactive, because they show you the life jacket, the big circle one, that gets thrown at you after you're already grounded. I try to help people put their life jacket on so they're building strength now, so that they can be stronger going forward and again live the life that they want to. And one of the things that I've worked on over the years is, one of the first things I did was go through the Chartered Financial Consulting designation so I could learn more about investments and how they tie in with planning, which is actually a prerequisite to getting your Certified Financial Planning designation, which I received that in 2002. And Certified Financial Planning is really a multi-dimension studying. And the test you take is also that. Most tests you take are based on the subject. If you're taking a test on taxes, you get tested on taxes. If you're taking a test on insurance, you get tested on insurance. When you take the CFP, it's looking at risk management, investments, legacy planning, retirement planning, all at one time. It's one of the hardest exams one can take. And when I took it, 43% of the people who took it passed. And when I found out that I passed, I yelled so loud that actually the state troopers on the 3rd floor came down to see what was happening. I was so thrilled. And I passed as the first try. Woo.
Yeah.
And then I also got my Chartered Life Underwriter designation, because life insurance is a great tool for risk management. It's also a great tool for legacy building and to handle your moral responsibility for those you care about, and also for charitable giving. And then what I've really specialized in the last couple of years, well, actually got 5 years, is focusing on helping people transition to retirement, build up to retirement, and then transition to retirement. So I got a designation as a Chartered Advisor in Senior Living, and I also got a designation in Retirement Income, because accumulating your income and then sending your income distribution are 2 different worlds. So I really focus in on that. And I like to tell clients and people I'm talking to about that I work on this is because the designations mean nothing really to them. What I like to show to them it means is that I take what I do very seriously, and I'm constantly trying to improve and do better so that I can serve them, because everybody's circumstances again are different and life keeps changing. So it's all continuous education is a big part of what I do. But what I want to do now is share how I built my clients over time and how I see my clients. My clients are outstanding members of our community with strong values and commitments. They are committed to positive growth and health of our world. Working with me, they seek to enhance their family and their community's well-being through responsible stewardship of their resources, both financially and personally, both tangible and intangible, and it's an honor to be part of their action team. I have got some of the most wonderful clients, and the people that I attract and the people I get to work with, it's really, truly an honor to work with them. And a big part of it is I work with people who are trying to do more than just develop wealth in a traditional greed money focus, but in a way that they're trying to develop wealth so they can be stewards, so they can serve, so the legacy they leave. I really love the people that I get the chance to work with. So that gives you a little bit of background about how I work, but I also mentioned to you I play hard. So I want to show you a little bit of my couple of adventures I've had recently. This picture over here was an absolutely great day in Utah. And I had a most wonderful time hiking with good friends. Then I've been up there. The top picture was being captured at Crater Lake, and then again with more friends in Utah. And then my last couple of pictures here. Just recently, we did the bicycle ride through the tunnel when they opened up the Worthless Tunnel. That was more fun than I thought it was going to be. Getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to do that. And then I also got to drive in the bottom corner. I was in Austin for a conference. And I got to go 150 miles an hour with a professional driver on an Audi racetrack. That was cool. And then one of the biggest things I got to do this year is meet and play with Tyler Ott, who's the long snapper for the Seahawks. His wife is actually in this other picture over here. She's become a good friend of mine. She's in Boston. She's also another advisor. And we just enjoy ourselves tremendously. So again, that gives you a little bit of background about myself. If there's any chance that I can ever be of service to you, let me know. But now I get a little better understanding of what makes me excited. Thank you.
All right, let's hear it again for Nancy. All right, it's my honor to introduce our guest speaker for today, Dan Purkey. Dan Purkey is the president of the Open Door Group, a consulting firm that specializes in helping management move entire organizations to achieve results not thought possible. He has 30+ years of experience in business, working at the executive level with and for companies as large as Fortune 500 and as small as 15 employees. Dan is a resident of Federal Way and has lived more than half his life in the Seattle area. He has a BA in education from the UW. Yay! Okay, just making sure I'm hearing it. Where he played freshman basketball in Mark Harshman's first year as the UW coach. And I don't even know what I'm talking about when I'm reading that, so it's even better. Mark Harshman, that sounds great. and a master's degree in business organizational leadership from the City University of Seattle. He also is a Lean Six Sigma black belt. Don't fight him. He's seen it all and fixed most of it. He has somewhat a unique combination of sales, operations, and regulatory experience with a focus on organizational operations, those inter and intradepartmental, customer, employee, and vendor processes that easily get gummed up and act as a drain of profitability without management even knowing it. He's published a futuristic detective novel called Trackers that conspiracy theorists love. Purkey is also the author of The Uncommon Sense Management, a management book that helps managers turn theory into practice to drive smoother and better results. Personally, Dan is a former Rotarian from Kingsman, Arizona. Although once a Rotarian, always a Rotarian. Dan's been married to his wife Terry for almost 40 years and has 2 sons, both of whom reside in Seattle. For recreation, Purdy rides a bicycle, brews beer, and plays disc frisbee golf, basketball, chess, and competitive games of all sorts. Please, let's give a warm gateway welcome to Dan Purkey.
Don't stand in front of the bar. Face
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
As Len said, I'm Dan Purkey, and the company I have is the Open Door Group. You can see the tagline here is Uncommon Sense Consulting. And what I've found over the years is that when problems come up and you're in a debriefing session after you've gone through the problem and worked it all out, that someone inevitably says, you know, if we'd only used a little more common sense on this, we probably wouldn't have had this issue. So what I have come to realize is that we don't need more common sense, we need uncommon sense. And really, uncommon sense is simply common sense that is actually used ahead of time instead of in hindsight. So, hence the name Uncommon Sense Consulting. What we're going to talk today about is 3 keys for productivity for you all to use in your businesses to make your employees and your businesses more productive. We'll talk about the big picture. We'll set a context with the video here in just a second. We'll talk about core values and principles, or CVPs. Turning theory into practice and making sure that these CVPs don't become posters on a wall, but in fact are actionable daily by everybody in the company. So with that, let's take a look at the big picture. Go ahead. Pressure's on, the crowd is tense. Oh, good.
Hi, I'm Dan Purkey. What's your vision, your dream of the ideal company? Let's talk about what it looks like. Too often the reality never approaches the vision, but if you don't have a vision for what it should look like, then you're simply lost. Stephen Covey talked about having that constant true north compass or star to lead you to your ultimate goal when things get off track, as they typically do in any company. A vision statement is that true north and helps keep you focused and directionally correct. But I don't want to talk about vision statements themselves. I do want to talk about taking you to a bigger, broader picture of the observable characteristics at this ideal business. So, as you watch this video, put your brain in a higher place that's more conceptual than tactical. When you have that ideal business in mind, then you can look at your reality and see where the gaps are. Then, work towards making the reality match the dream. Let's see how many of the ideas I'll present here fit your picture of the ideal company. I'd like a place to work where people work well together. It's collegial and cooperative in the true sense of a team. Infighting, turf wars, and political agendas have been replaced by everyone working for the success of their teammates, doing what's in the best interests of the company as a whole versus their own little world. This environment has effective communication as the foundation of actions. It's a place where a true mutual understanding for who will do what and by when exists in all activities. It's a place where people get support from their teammates by actually helping each other, keeping on task for agreed to priorities. A place where priorities are turned into actions by people who do what they say they'll do. I call that integrity. This ideal workplace is one where all employees are engaged in their work and
take the personal responsibility to do their utmost, to do their jobs with quality and with efficiency, all the while taking into account company profitability and customer satisfaction. It's a place where people enjoy coming to work and having fun with what they do. Now, let's not get carried away here. This isn't a situation where everyone is sitting around singing Kumbaya. We do have a business to run, so accountability and metrics to measure how well we're doing are in play. But those metrics are few in number and only put in place with the practical purpose to directly drive the true priorities that we've decided on. In addition to metrics, the sense of the company's direction and the processes to get us there are eminently clear to everyone. We celebrate our successes with recognition and rewards for jobs well done. And not just for the big things, but for when actions can be shown to be in alignment with the principles and values of the company on a daily basis. Management's there to support employees and provide them the tools they need to succeed. A free flow of discussion and ideas among all of them happens in this environment of effective communication. A true open door policy exists in which employees won't have to fear retribution for raising legitimate business issues. We don't shoot the messenger here. The blame game has been replaced by holding people accountable, but with the spirit that no one is perfect. Lessons will be learned and improvements made as a result. We have clearly stated principles and values that are practical and actionable and few in number. And mostly though, people act in alignment with these principles and values every day with a sense of personal responsibility. Finally, this company is profitable. After all, no business exists for long without having income exceed expenses on a consistent basis. Keeping the business profitable ensures that everyone will have sustained, continuing employment. So there you have it. How'd you like to work in a place like that? I'm sure you've thought of some other ideas to contribute, but take the temperature of how you're feeling right now after listening to and thinking about this idyllic state of business. Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel right? Almost, well, I don't know, euphoric? Hang on to that feeling and that sense of optimism and compare that to your reality. My guess is that your reality isn't close to what we've just talked about. So how do you get closer to that ideal? So I'm going to tell you a few keys to get closer to that ideal. The first basis is core values and principles. Every company needs core values and principles to operate by, to act as that true north that Stephen Covey talked about. There's a fine difference between values and principles just from a technical perspective. Values are more states of being, while principles are states of action. As you can see from the that won't work. As you can see from the diagram here, principles and values really form the foundation for everything else in your business. And once you have those in place, once you know what your true north is, then you can set your strategies, which are in alignment with those values and principles. And then from the strategies, the tactics become involved. But the tactics have to be in alignment with the strategies, which have to be in alignment with the principles and the values. In the same way, all up to ultimately tasks, which is where most focuses are in business, because people are focused on tasks. But if those tasks aren't in alignment with those values and principles in an actionable way every day, then pretty soon the tasks take you off track from where you need to be as a business. These are universal core values and principles. These apply to any business in any part of the world. Those values include teamwork, a healthy business, which is not necessarily just profitability, but also the culture that you have in the business, continuous improvement, accountability, integrity, and respect. I'd like to point out that with integrity, the way we define it is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. That's all it is. It's not a moral thing. It's not an ethics thing. When someone has their integrity questioned, usually that raises a whole bunch of red flags and defensiveness comes into play. We limit the definition of integrity simply to, did you do what you said you were going to do, which kind of fits into the four-way test. From a principle standpoint, simplification, customer and employee satisfaction, alignment with principles, true prioritization, and effective communication. I seldom talk about communication unless I put that adjective effective in there. A lot of times people are talking with one another and they think they're communicating when in fact they aren't. And whatever is being sent by the speaker is not being received in the same way as the listener is understanding it. So the reason effective is up there is that when you have true effective communication, you have a mutual understanding of all the parties in the discussion about what was said and done and what was planned. So let's get into some 3 key things. These are kind of the tasks on that pyramid that you saw earlier. Here's the first key tool. This deals with true prioritization and effective communication to be in alignment with those core values and principles that I talked about. Never leave a meeting or a discussion without all parties knowing who will do what by when. Now, usually when you're in a meeting, the who and the what are pretty clear. But usually in the meetings, it's the by when that runs into a problem. By when is the key. Close that meeting with, you're going to do this by next Friday. If you've got that in place, then you can go back to accountability, one of those CBPs, and say, okay, now you can hold people accountable to doing something by when they said they were going to do it. Without that by when, you simply can't get there. That's the key. So who will do what by when in any meeting? Just wrap up the meeting with that. It's a nice summary. That will give you more productivity because you'll find that now tasks that are assigned actually get done in a timely fashion. They don't drag on. Part of that process in making sure that when happens, that accountability happens, is a thing that I like to call CURP. CURP stands for constant, unrelenting, ruthless pressure. Now, really, it's not as draconian as it sounds. It really means just follow up and follow through. So if someone's got a deadline that you've established in your meeting with the who will do what by when, then if their when is, let's say, next Friday, you could come to them and on Tuesday or Wednesday say, hey Sarah, remember that deadline that we set for you? How are you coming along with that? Are you on schedule for it? Do you need any help? That's a key. Do you need any help with it? So you're not really pressuring them overtly to say, get the deadline done, you better hurry up and get this done. You're there as a teammate, acting to help them. So then, with that process, the actual task gets done on time, and your business moves ahead more productively. The second key tool I want to talk about also is aligned with effective communication. Again, that mutual understanding of all the parties involved in the situation. It's simply paraphrasing. Generally, when you wrap up something and you're giving directions to someone, you say, do you understand? And especially if you're in a boss-subordinate relationship, if the boss is asking that question of the subordinate is going to sit there or stand there and say, yeah, they don't want to look stupid in front of their boss. Certainly I understand. Well, they probably don't, they may not. So if they say, yes, do you understand, you as the boss, that should raise a red flag in your head. But then they'll go away and then they'll do something completely different from what you had discussed. Even if they don't understand, they'll say yes, and then they will, they may think they understand, when in fact they don't. But if you're only going to get a closed-ended question with a yes or no response, you're never going to know whether or not their understanding is what you were trying to convey. So eliminate this question, do you understand, from the company's vocabulary. Instead, replace it with, would you paraphrase back to me what you just heard? This is going to improve productivity tremendously. because you're not going to have a lot of reworks that are being done. Now it gives the person the opportunity that you're talking to tell you in their own words what you just told them to do. And now it gives you the opportunity to correct them, to course correct right then, as opposed to course correct after the fact and having to redo stuff. So again, from a productivity standpoint, would you paraphrase back to me what you just heard is kind of a key component in making that happen. The last key tool that we're going to look at, again, amazingly enough, is associated with effective communication. I do believe that effective communication is if there was one core value or principle that you could use, effective communication drives everything. Focus on business issues. Frequently when you get into an argument or a discussion of different ways to approach things, you'll find that emotion comes into play. And now tensions start to rise because you've got two people on opposite sides of the equation. Your responsibility, when those emotions start to rise, is to recognize that. And that's a really tough thing to do when you're in the middle of this discussion, to be able to kind of step back and say, oh, wait a minute, the emotions are getting high here. What can we do about that? So first you have to have that awareness. When you reach that awareness, that now you're starting to take tangents off on things that are not associated with the issue that you're talking about, again, productivity comes into play, and you're wasting productivity time for the business. Ask, what's the business issue that we're trying to fix? So stop the conversation. You've recognized that tensions are high. Just stop and say, hey, wait a minute. We're getting a little off track here. Let's refocus. What's the business issue that we're trying to fix? Just asking that question kind of takes the emotions out of play and puts the focus of the discussion back on the business issue where it should be. That again will help you resolve things in a much more timely fashion than you might otherwise do. None of this happens unless personal change comes first. You have to make a change. Individuals have to make a change because a culture is composed of individuals. And if the individuals are not changing to align themselves with the core values and principles that you set up, then your culture is simply never going to get there in the way that you want it to have happen. So personal change does precede organizational change, and it's important as leaders that you continue to encourage people to have their actions in alignment with those core values and principles. Questions? Perfect. Yes?
So in your experience, what can you share about your approach that has not worked?
What has not worked is when CURP is not applied. Is when the leaders let up on the gas pedal. This is a leadership moment here, and leaders have to have that continuous front of the mind awareness that core values and principles are in play, and that front of the mind awareness that virtually every interaction that you have has to relate back somehow. Is it in alignment with the core values and principles? It's just this. It's the four-way test. Except you're applying it to clearly define core values and principles that everyone has agreed to. So what doesn't work is when the leadership takes the gas off. So it's got to be a constant reinforcement. It has to be constant, unrelenting, ruthless pressure. Yes?
Well, this is not a question. I just want you to know that this is one of the best Rotary clubs. No, it is the best in the area, and so if you'd like an application,
thank you, I appreciate that. And I would expect nothing less from a Rotary club.
That's right. Madeline's in charge of CURP.
We'll get that done by the end of the meeting.
Excellent. Perfect. I have a convert. It doesn't take everybody, but it does take a critical mass of people to have these things in mind. And once you reach that critical mass of key leaders that are now spreading this to the company, then it will happen, and then the culture will actually change, and then you will get a majority of people. You're never going to get a majority, all of the people to buy into this stuff, but the productivity improvements and the effects on the business and profitability are tremendous. I've worked with companies before, the last one that I was working at. We just really, based on this, we had a 33% overall productivity improvement in the company. We were doing the same amount of work with 33% less people. Because we eliminated all of this non-productive time that most people don't even recognize. You know, most people just, they're looking at the business is going along, they're not really examining the business itself and how it's really working.
I think we got time for one more question.
Don't have one more question.
That's it.
Okay, we're set. Thank you so much.
Here's my signal.
That's right. I guess you just go up unannounced.
There we go. Morning, GW Nation. Welcome this Wednesday morning. Put your